Okay, guys, so we discussing about the Hall technique, and I have seen that it is one of their very, very favorite topic. So that is why I emphasize that we should be discussing about it. Modern caries management emphasizes non-invasive approaches that focus on controlling biofilm activity and lesion progression. When a carious lesion is effectively sealed from the cariogenic biofilm, it has a high likelihood of arresting, with the odontoblasts forming reparative dentin to safeguard the pulp. So, Hall technique it exemplifies this approach by sealing lesions in primary molars using preformed metal crowns without tooth preparation. Multiple randomized controlled trials and systematic reviews they support that the Hall's technique it is quite effective, showing the outcomes comparable or better than the traditional restorative procedures. Advantages of the Hall's technique that it is well tolerated by the majority of the children and is acceptable to the parents as well because they don't have to go through all the tantrums and all the problems and screams and cries and all that because some of the children they don't like the needles, they don't like the drilling sound, etc., etc. Hall technique is particularly advantageous for young apprehensive patients who may otherwise require sedation for traditional surgical interventions. The Hall technique is not a simple or quick solution for managing carious primary molars. Its success depends on meticulous case selection, advanced clinical skill, and strong patient cooperation. Along with it, it should always be a well implemented and a comprehensive caries prevention program. Otherwise, it is not going to work. If caries prevention program is not implemented, then you are providing someone with a very nice, like uh, a good car, but the person does not know how to drive. It is the same thing. Well, if we look at certain important points, the Hall technique does not suit every single carious primary tooth or every single child having carious primary teeth or even every single clinician who are dealing with pediatric patients with carious primary teeth. That is why case selection is very important. But still, it is a useful and effective method of managing carious primary molars. If we look into the history of this technique is named after a Scottish general dental practitioner, Dr. Norna Hall, who developed and refined it over 15 years and she got retired in 2006. So these preformed metal crowns, the gold standard for restoring multi-surface carious primary molars, they are there since 1950s and they offer high long-term success rates. But conventionally, these PMCs, their placement required local anesthesia and aggressive tooth preparation plus other things including the removal of the carious lesion or performing the pulpotomy procedures, etc., etc. Well, pulpotomy is still, if the pulpal exposure is there, then pulpotomy is also a technique which we employ, which we are going to discuss in another lecture. But just letting you know, so all these things, they were required before conventionally placing the preformed metal crowns, which are wrongly called stainless steel crowns. So other things are technical difficulties and a potential harm to the adjacent permanent molars as well while you are preparing the tooth or when you are pushing it, etc., etc. The rationale of Hall technique, the process of fitting the crown is quick and non-invasive. The crown is seated over the tooth with no caries removal or tooth preparation of any kind and local anesthesia is not required. To remove or not to remove. Traditionally, as I just told you, dental practice advocates complete caries removal before restoration only in certain cases where problem is that maybe after further excavation we may expose. And that was the basis of direct pulp capping or what do you call it, indirect pulp capping, as well as the CVEC pulpotomy procedures, which I told you earlier in one of the lectures. But now retaining carious tissue is considered acceptable. And why? The answer lies in understanding the development of caries and their progression. First of all, even in the presence of plaque, remember that not all these surfaces are prone to develop the dental caries. There are only few tooth surfaces like pits and fissures and the proximal contact areas that are truly susceptible to develop the dental caries, while most remain caries resistant despite prolonged plaque exposure like the cervical margins of labial and buccal surfaces. What happens to caries and plaque after you seal them? In Hall technique, the plaque's environment is manipulated by sealing it into the tooth, separating it from the substrates it would normally receive from the host's diet. So basically, we are cutting that contact or that supply. The plaque may continue to receive some nutrition from the pulpal perfusion, but very minimal. And there is a good evidence that if caries is effectively sealed from the oral environment, it is not going to progress. Indications: primary molars with asymptomatic caries or reversible pulpitis, proximal lesions cavitated or non-cavitated, occlusal lesions cavitated if the child is unable to accept the selective caries removal. Large multi-surface lesions, lesions involving cusps or extending beyond proximal line angles, patient cannot tolerate conventional surgical interventions and parent or patient prefers less invasive treatment. These are all indications for Hall technique. Well, there are certain contraindications as well. Clinical symptoms of irreversible pulpitis or dental abscess. Well, if it is irreversible pulpitis, then we have to go for pulp extirpation or maybe extraction of the tooth. No clear band of dentin between the carious lesion and the pulp means there is carious exposure now. So we have to go for the pulpotomy procedure if that is indicated. Radiographic evidence of pulpal exposure or periradicular pathology. Unrestorable, inadequate tooth structure for crown retention, children where the airway cannot be managed safely. Step-by-step procedure. Case selection, ideal candidate, primary molar with caries involving one or more surfaces, no signs of pulpitis or abscess. Contraindications: non-restorable tooth, pulp necrosis, abscess, pathological mobility, or near exfoliation. Always worked with the informed consent. Explain the procedure to the parents, guardians, emphasizing that there is no any drilling or local anesthesia required, possible mild discomfort during crown seating, and tell them the importance of follow-up to monitor the success, and definitely maintaining the oral hygiene is also a key. Isolation and cleaning later. Use cotton rolls or a saliva ejector for moisture control. Rubber dam could be used, that is optional. Remove loose debris from the with a probe or excavator. No extensive carious removal is required. Then crown selection, choose a preformed metal crown matching the tooth's mesiodistal weight and then do the trial fit or test fit. Then crown cementation, fill the crown two-thirds full with glass ionomer cement, for example, Fuji 9 or whatever. Seat the crown firmly over the tooth using finger pressure. Have the child bite down on a cotton roll or silicone bite pad for 2 to 3 minutes until the cement sets. Then check for the occlusion. Ensure that the crown is fully seated and in proper occlusion. Minor high spots, usually they will self-resolve within few days. via natural wear and tear. Finishing and post-operative instructions then: remove the excess cement with a probe or floss, advise soft diet for 24 hours and monitor for discomfort, schedule a follow-up to verify caries arrest and crown retention. In case if the contacts are tight, then you can place the orthodontic separators. Or even in cases where the marginal ridge is fractured, then you can use these uh, orthodontic separators before placement of the crown. So if the contacts were tight, we have placed the separators. Now we are ready for this. We are going to measure the mesiodistal width of the tooth, and then we select the appropriate crown. We will again measure it mesiodistally and from the facial surface and from the occlusal surface. But before placing it or even going for the trial, always measure the uh, canine overlap and record it. Then you can use this type of adhesive tape which you use for like bandage purpose after some cuts or some insect bite. You can place it on your finger and stick the crown using that tape on your finger. Go for the trial fit. Check if the trial fit is good and you are feeling some springiness over here. Don't push if when you are feeling springiness. Take it out, fill 2/3 of it with the glass ionomer cement, and then place it and push it hard. And then by placing a cotton roll, ask the child to bite on it. Then remove the excessive cement using the probe or explorer or whatever. And then also go for the flossing to remove any excessive cement in the proximal area. Well, in some of the cases, patient's bite may be slightly opened by approximately 1 millimeter and will self-adjust over the next 1 to 2 weeks via intrusion of the crown tooth and opposing tooth as well as super eruption of the adjacent teeth. Key advantages: it is minimally invasive, no tooth preparation is required, high success rate, studies show more than 90% retention at 2 to 5 years, and biofilm sealing arrests the caries progression. Potential challenges: temporary discomfort usually resolves in 1 to 2 days, gingival irritation, it is rare. Avoid over contoured crowns. Of course, over contoured crowns will also harbor plaque as well. So the conclusion is the Hall technique is an evidence-based, child-friendly approach to managing caries in primary molars, prioritizing biofilm control over invasive intervention. Proper case selection and technique ensures long-term success. So over here we are done with our today's lecture. Hopefully you have enjoyed it.